Welcome to the eXperiment podcast, where we talk about life and business and how they daily intersect. I'm your host, Laura Dowdy. Let's get to some real talk. Welcome, everybody. This podcast today is actually a Instagram live that I did with Jennifer Hawkins, who is a real estate agent in Los Angeles. And before I get to that, I wanted to give you a little bit of background about her. Her love of real estate started at a very early age. She grew up in real estate and speaking fluently the language of architecture and design and development, thanks to her father, who owns a residential and commercial development company. And he has turned the Hawkins name into a stamp of quality across Arizona, Colorado, and Utah. Jennifer has 15 years as a top performing sales consultant in the automotive industry. She sharpened her negotiation skills through thousands of transactions before she had an instinctive pivot into the real estate game. She was born and raised in Florida and now lives in Santa Monica while specializing in Malibu, Beverly Hills, and the Palisades, in addition to Santa Monica. And she blends her innate Southern style and charm, and definitely her friendliness, with a sunny SoCal vibe. I am so excited to share this talk with the Jayhawk, Jennifer Hawkins. Let's get to it.
This week's been going by so quick.
It's those short weeks. They always get you.
Right. And that's part of something to talk about, right? Like, we feel like we have all this time, and then time goes by so fast. And then if we delay and put something off today to tomorrow, and then tomorrow becomes the weekend, then the weekend becomes Monday, and then sometimes we haven't done the things that we're supposed to do. So I just wanted to, first of all, say thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
And then, hi, Amy. Maybe, just introduce yourself, tell people kind of what you do, and then we'll just kind of get into, staying motivated, setting goals, being accountable, and how to just really hang in between now and the end of the year to make sure that the end of the year ends how you want it to.
Love it. Thank you. I love you to pieces. And I have enjoyed following your journey. And that's what I do. I love real estate. So I've been in it since I was a wee one. My dad owned a publishing company, Catalog of Homes. So I grew up in real estate, got my license in 97. So I've been through two downturns, and I started my career in a downturn, and then I opened my own brokerage in a downturn. So smart. I'm real smart.
Brave. I sure like to challenge.
Yeah, no. So what I can tell you is that is part of why I do coaching is because I love helping people along the journey. And when you have that kind of perspective, for me, it keeps things on a level. Like, there's no massive peaks in the sense of where you are mentally on your day, because it's a mental game. This business is a solo business. Even when you're on a team, if you're the team leader, it can feel kind of alone sometimes. And even if you're on that team, you're still kind of doing your own thing. So we need more collaboration. And I think that's one of the things that we can talk about. And what you and I actually talked about yesterday is being more proactive versus reactive. And for this second half, there's nothing about anything that's coming ahead for me that scares me. It massively excites me. And it's because there's so much opportunity. But use this time. Because even right now, this, Jen, from the time that you've been in the business, that this summer part of the year is a little slower. Period. Right. I know last year it was crazy, but so that's kind of me in a nutshell, and just here to help. So thank you for including me.
Perfect. Well, thank you for your time. So kind of what I was saying just before you got on was, obviously this will be a little bit more real estate, realtor focused, but that really, if you're in sales or any job or anything that you have, or even if it's just some life goals, I think that you would have some really great tips and ways to just tell people on how to be accountable, stay motivated, stay positive. And yeah, I really think a lot of it is about being proactive instead of reactive. One thing, especially as being in real estate, realtors, the last 2 years have just really been kind of nuts, and we haven't necessarily had the time and room to breathe and set goals. And then we were like, we didn't even have goals set, and somehow we reached our numbers through, since the market was so great. And then now when we have times where it starts to change a little bit, we kind of forget, right? You forget every year. Like you're saying, every year it's like summer's always a slow time. People go out of town. They're, doing all these things. And then we just start to go, what's going on? So I think the thing is if you work with someone like how I work with Laura, first of all, it's great because you remind us of that. And then also there are like roadmaps and goals and ways that you can stay with your head kind of in the game and not allow any shift this way or any shift that way to throw you off kilter.
Yeah, absolutely. And that boils down to your systems, really. And it's funny because having a routine and being disciplined has become a 4-letter word to some degree for some people. But I honestly can tell you, when I first started my business was the same way. I love the constant change of, like, no deal is ever the same. Our days are never the same. And I thrive in that kind of constant change. But what you have to ask yourself is, do you thrive in chaos? So if you're like, oh God, I think she just nailed it on the head for me, then there's a quick fix for that. And that quick fix is finding 2 to 3 hours a day that you're going to discipline yourself to do operational, money like client generating things. Again, doesn't matter if you're in real estate or not. And I sent you something yesterday from somebody that I have worked with. Tell 50 people every week about what you do. You go to church, you go to the gym, you have book clubs, just have that conversation. Hey, I don't know if you know this or not, I'm in real estate and I would love a referral. Like, just have a normal conversation. That was a little kind of to the point there. But, use that time to get your operations in place. And when I say operations, I'm talking about the back of the house. So think about a restaurant, or think about when you go to Disneyland or Disney World, you've got the fun stuff. This is what everybody sees. And then there's underground Disney where, stuff happens. This is how they get things done. So think about your business in that way. There's the point where you're showing up for your clients, doing the marketing and all that fun, beautiful stuff. But then there's the back of the house. How well is that, train running on the tracks? And if you're like, I don't know, just start with writing down how you want your business to run. Because if you have an assistant that comes on board, how do you explain that to them? Do you just have to talk to them? Or can you give them, like you said, a roadmap? So those are the things that you can really be doing in this kind of time. And when I say 2 to 3 hours, you're still in that other time, going to dinner, going to the gym, all of those things, so that you're, still participating in life. And it's fun. Like, you do the discipline things, you go to the gym, and then you get to eat your ice cream,
Definitely. Well, that's what I think sometimes what I have difficulty with is the fun things for me are like the marketing pieces, things like that. So like that, I have no problem being like, I'm going to do that and I'm going to put that together. The stuff that's a little more less fun, at least for me, and the way that my makeup is, right? Like, I know some people that like Excel sheets just make their day and they love it. And colors, and like, you say the word Excel sheet and I'm just immediately adverse. But I know too that like, if I'm not having systems in place, then I don't know what's working, what's not working. I also, as times shift and maybe not as busy as I once was, it's like, what do I do? Where do I start? And by not kind of having that planned ahead of time or staying on system courses, then I just kind of fall off. And then if I fall off one day, I can kind of let myself fall off another day. And then before I know it, I'm like, well, I better get something done before my Monday call with Laura or else. What would you say are the things that, like, if people like, and some things it's like, you know what, like, you kind of help me with this, right? Okay, so one thing we end up doing is we end up spending way more time on social media than any of us would like to admit or should say or whatever. But instead of making it a negative thing, it's like, hey, if you want to spend an hour on social media, fine, but make sure that in that time, you're making it productive. You're connecting with other people in your industry, or maybe people who could be giving you referrals, or that you're just engaging in ways that get you more followers. What are some other things that you would say?
Well, as we talk about all the time, social media is for being social. So it is an avenue that I didn't have when I was coming up and it's free. It's freaking free. So use that to genuinely connect with people. I literally challenge myself to spend 15 minutes every day. Yes, I'm going to scroll. That's going to happen, whether it's in the morning or afternoon or whenever. I just kind of need a mental break, like I do give myself that space to just check out. And I sometimes do that with social media. But I can tell you, if you're having a crappy day, don't. That's the one day that you don't want to be scrolling on social media, because our brain is wired to instinctively compare. So if you can discipline yourself to, that's one takeaway. Hopefully somebody can be like, oh God, she just saved me from that. So, but what I do is I literally find people that I feel like I have a connection with, and I'll just comment on their post. Do you know how many people scroll through and they'll heart your thing and then they don't comment? And we all know this as entrepreneurs and being in this social media game, that commenting on a post, saving somebody's post, does massive things to the algorithm. So let's do that a little bit more for each other. Let's comment and like and engage on social media so that you can help support your fellow colleague in the business. And then in addition to that, go to their stories. And again, if you've got somebody that you don't really know, that you're just friending, use the stories to comment there, because those are the ones they'll see. If you DM them, they're not going to see it. They'll see the comments and they'll see your the story post. So I love social media for that reason. And I had a love-hate relationship with it for a while. So, but I've just turned it into taking 15 minutes a day to be very, very intentional. And you don't always have to connect with people in the real estate business. Think about, of course, lenders and title and all of that, but also people in your community, like your small mom and pop shops, and where you go to the spa, the same thing. They're just like us. They're in this business to give a service and generate income. So share the love with those people as well. So.
Right. No, I think that's good. And what I was going to say too is then what's good for me is it's okay, if I look on my thing and I'm like, okay, to keep my systems in place, to keep things moving and to be busy, because when I'm not busy, that's when you can, one, just start to get lazy, and two, start to allow yourself to kind of tell whatever story you want. That if you're busy and you're getting positive reactions and you're meeting with people and people are saying they like these, then you start to grow. So that's what sometimes I will say, well, these are the things that I know I like to do more than, putting together, or you'll say, okay, what's your goal? And I'll say a number, and you're like, and then I'm ready to move on. And you're like, but how are you going to get to that number? And so I think that's the benefit we should be doing right now, about if we are finding ourselves a little bit slowed down, that this is the best time to start digging deeper, picking things apart, and do that. And the other thing is too, is sometimes it can feel overwhelming, right? Because it's wow, I haven't been using my systems, and I haven't putting things in place because I've been going 1,000 miles a minute with the market being so nuts. And so now it's kind of so one, we can always change our systems, right? If things change and whatever, and if we did something and we realized we don't like it or we're not going to do it, then what's the point, right?
Right.
That's one thing you really start, because I was like, oh no, I need to do this because whatever. And it's but if I'm not going to actually do it, it's not a point.
Right. I look at 90-day runs. So every 90 days, you and I just talked about this yesterday. Do you like your website still? Do you is it still updated and fresh? Does the content, the copy that's in there still reflect who you are? Because literally your life in this real estate business specifically, and even in sales, from January to now, we're all different people. So really take a minute to assess, what does your branding and marketing look like? And does it still reflect who you are? And then the other thing I want to say is, maybe not everybody is like wanting to invest in a coach, and that's okay, because I get it. I just had friends. So that's what I want to tell you is, reach out. I know you have an amazing group of women around you, and you've created even a text group for that. So use that, your friends, your colleagues, to be your accountability person, to be your cheerleader as well. And that's kind of what I feel like I do, is like, I hold your feet to the fire when you need it. And then when you're feeling down on yourself, I remind you of how far you've come and how amazing you are. So it's kind of that push-pull that you need. We all need. We are human beings that need to connect. So we all need that in our life. And you don't have to spend, and invest a whole lot of money. You can just have somebody as an accountant and hold them accountable. Like, I have somebody that I don't pay. I have a coach myself, but I also have somebody that I don't pay, that we both benefit from sending out. I call it a greatness tracker. You know that. I send my greatness tracker to her. She sends one to me. And then every Friday we get on Zoom for 30 minutes and just check in. And then, like, day before yesterday, had a crappy day. I text her and she's like, get out of the house. Like, I know these things. I get this, and you and I've talked about that, but these are the things that, from a industry, we don't always share with each other, and we don't show the we don't pull behind the veil. And the truth is we all have tough days and we all have amazing days. So we need each other to be a little more transparent about that, but also hold each other's hands so that we can go to the next level.
Right. Well, I think I was telling you, like, sometimes if I just do the thing, once I actually do it, once I continue to, I'm like, later. Then once you do it, you're like, why didn't I do that earlier? Because it wasn't that big of a deal. I think one thing that I sometimes notice I struggle with is, I like to be, this like positive, bubbly. And so when a message is maybe not positive or not bubbly, or if it's like, everybody's kind of in this space about what's happening with the market, that sometimes then I want to not deal or be adverse to it. Or as I was telling you, even it's like, oh, I feel like a lot of my buyer clients have kind of pieced out. And I could take that, right, and just be like, well, that's it. And, what do I do? Or instead I say, okay, well, let me just call them and talk about something else, or find a different way to connect. Or also, you never know what they're hearing, right? Like, there's so many mixed messages that even if you just take the time to check in, or say like, hey, I found this article or whatever, there's something maybe they don't know. And also just to not be afraid and just have to do it, right? I mean, right. Worst case, that's what I was saying. It's like, worst case is they'll say like, still taking a break. And like, where's the harm in that? But best case is maybe they said, oh, you know what? We saw this house, or we're excited. And I think
talk about what happened with you with the client that it's been eons, and you're going to go to lunch next week or whatever. You're going to have, you're going to get together and socialize. And sometimes I think, especially when you're coaching and whatever, you feel like you've got to have that sales conversation. And I always revert back to connecting with the person. Where are they? What's going on in their life? I have a colleague of mine who talks about, we as an industry are used to asking, what do you want? Do you want a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, blah, 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 blah. In order for us to be relevant now, we need to be asking our clients, why? Why are you holding off? Why are you ready to sell? Those are the questions that we need to be asking our clients now versus the tactical piece. Let's get into the human part of it, that part that can't be replaced by AI or an algorithm or anything else. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think the main thing, I told you 20 minutes, so I don't want to take up time, but I'm so thankful and grateful for it. Is if people have questions or comments about creating systems, goals, follow through, follow up, that's kind of what I was mentioning that I feel like you really helped me with. You've helped me streamline. You've helped me to connect and always remember, like, this is my brand. Does it go with my brand? Does it not? Do things need to be does something over here need to be more fluid, or does this need to be, non-negotiable? And I think the main thing is that we just need to remember to remain positive. And I think also anyone who hasn't gone through the real estate market when it's had some ebbs and flows, if you will, to know that like you've been there, you figured it out, you built the boat, and you got it safely to shore both times. So if anyone needs any help or accountability, Laura's great and has a lot of tips and tricks and help. And if people also just want some sort of accountability, you can always reach out to me. And we hope that everybody reaches all of their goals. The main thing is to not let yourself get distracted. Remember the things that worked, and stay positive and keep working. And there was this quote, now I can't remember, but it said something like, do the work and the work will do the work for you.
Yeah.
I messed it up a little, but I think everyone else can connect the dots and kind of get it. So if you keep doing the things, you're going to be rewarded. If you stop doing the things, you'll see those results too. So
whatever it is that you're avoiding is what's going to get you on the other side of where you want to go.
Right. So just do it already.
Yeah.
I promise it's never going to be as bad as you think, because for a reason, for me, sometimes I tell myself really crazy stories and then it's like none of that actually happened. So
it's 2:22.
Right. Okay. So we hope everybody has a great end to the 2022 year, and that there's even better things in store for you for the next year. But the only way to continue to have momentum and succeed is to do the work and have the systems. So if you need help, questions, or accountability, reach out to either one of us. We always love connecting and having more people and working in the field we love. So thanks again for your time.
Thank you. Love you.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the eXperiment podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. And as always, follow me on Instagram at LauraDowdy_LE for Live Excellence. Go make a difference, y'all. The world needs you.